Something big has just happened. Something your soulmate never expected. And now they need to talk to you immediately. They are not reaching out because they feel lonely. They are not searching for attention. They are not trying to reopen an old connection simply because the night feels quiet. This is different. A truth has come out. A decision has been made. And the person who has spent so long hiding their feelings has finally realized that keeping you in the dark could cause them to lose you forever. Your soulmate has been staring at your name on their phone. They have opened your conversation several times. They typed a message. Deleted it. Typed another one. Deleted that too. Nothing feels strong enough to explain what happened. They know that once they tell you, the connection between you will never feel the same again. You may finally understand why they became distant. You may discover that their silence was connected to something much bigger than fear. And you may learn that someone has been making decisions about this connection without your knowledge. Your soulmate recently found out that you were not told the whole truth. Neither were they. For a long time, they believed the distance between you happened naturally. They thought timing was against you. They believed circumstances made honesty impossible. They told themselves that perhaps the connection was meant to remain unfinished. But something happened today that destroyed that belief. They discovered that the silence between you may not have been accidental. Someone interfered. Someone close enough to understand both of your fears. Someone who knew exactly what to say to keep your soulmate from contacting you. It started with a conversation your soulmate was never supposed to hear. They were in a place where people believed they had already left. Perhaps it was a family gathering. Perhaps it was an office, a home, or a room where several people had been discussing recent events. Your soulmate heard your name. At first, they thought it was a coincidence. Then they heard someone say that keeping the two of you apart had been necessary. Your soulmate stopped moving. Their entire body became still. They listened carefully. The people speaking did not know they were nearby. One person said your soulmate had almost contacted you several times. Another person replied that the situation had been handled. Handled. That word changed everything. Your soulmate wanted to walk into the room immediately. They wanted to demand an explanation. But something told them to remain quiet. So they listened. The conversation revealed that someone had been passing messages between you. Not direct messages. Information. Warnings. Opinions disguised as facts. Your soulmate had been told that you were moving on. You may have been told that your soulmate had chosen someone else. They were told you no longer wanted contact. You may have been told they had no intention of speaking honestly. Each story contained just enough truth to sound believable. That was what made it dangerous. The person did not create obvious lies. They took real moments and changed their meaning. When you became quieter because you were hurt, they told your soulmate you had lost interest. When your soulmate became distant because they were afraid, they told you the connection had never mattered. Every reaction created by confusion was then used as proof that the false story was true. Your soulmate's hands began shaking as they listened. They remembered moments when they almost reached out. Times when they had written long messages explaining everything. But before sending them, someone close had warned that contacting you would only make them look desperate. They were told you had already closed the door. They were told you had spoken negatively about the connection. Your soulmate believed those warnings because they were afraid of rejection. Now they understand that fear was being used against them. Then the conversation became even more serious. Someone mentioned a message that had never reached you. Your soulmate's heart stopped. Months ago, they had written something important. Not a simple apology. A confession. They admitted their feelings. They explained the reasons for their distance. They asked whether you would be willing to speak honestly. They believed they had sent it. But you never responded. Your silence after that message convinced them that everything was over. They thought you had read the words and decided they were too late. They accepted the pain privately. They told themselves they had no right to contact you again. But today, they learned that the message may never have reached you. Someone had access to the device, account, or platform they used. Someone removed it. Perhaps it was deleted before delivery. Perhaps it was sent to the wrong place deliberately. Perhaps it was hidden inside a folder you never check. Whatever happened, your soulmate now believes you never saw it. That discovery changed the meaning of your silence. You were not ignoring their confession. You did not know it existed. Your soulmate felt anger, relief, and heartbreak at the same time. Anger because someone crossed a boundary. Relief because perhaps you had not rejected them. Heartbreak because so much time had been lost. They thought about every day they stayed silent because they believed you had already answered. They thought about how you may have been waiting for the exact truth they believed you had refused to hear. They could no longer remain hidden. Your soulmate entered the room. The conversation stopped immediately. Everyone looked at them. One person tried to smile. Another asked how long they had been standing there. Your soulmate did not answer. They asked one question. What happened to the message I sent? No one spoke. The silence confirmed everything. Your soulmate repeated the question. This time, their voice was stronger. Someone finally admitted that the message had been intercepted. They claimed it was done to protect your soulmate. They said the confession had been emotional. They believed sending it would have complicated the situation. They thought your soulmate would regret revealing so much. But your soulmate knew this was not protection. Protection gives a person information and allows them to choose. This was control. Someone had made a decision about your relationship without permission. They had decided you should not hear the truth. They had decided your soulmate should believe they had been rejected. And both of you paid the emotional price. Your soulmate demanded to know why. At first, the explanation was vague. They said the timing was wrong. They said both of you had too much happening in your lives. They said the connection was becoming unhealthy. But none of those answers explained why they removed the message instead of speaking honestly. Then the real reason appeared. The person was afraid that if you and your soulmate finally spoke openly, another secret would come out. A secret connected to someone both of you trusted. Your soulmate learned that this person had told you something private about them. Something incomplete. Something designed to make you doubt their character. At the same time, they had told your soulmate a different story about you. They had positioned themselves between both of you. They became the source each person relied on for information. And as long as you remained separated, no one could compare stories. That was the purpose of the silence. Your soulmate asked what secret they were hiding. The person refused to answer. They said revealing it would hurt too many people. But your soulmate had already learned the cost of hidden truth. They said the secret was already hurting people. It was hurting you. It was hurting them. And it had turned a meaningful connection into months of confusion. The confrontation became intense. The person accused your soulmate of allowing emotions to control their judgment. They said you were not worth destroying long-standing relationships. Your soulmate reacted immediately. They said this was no longer only about choosing you. It was about choosing truth over manipulation. Even if you no longer wanted the connection, they deserved to know what had been done. You deserved to know that your silence and their distance had been shaped by lies. That was the moment your soulmate changed forever. For years, they avoided confrontation. They stayed quiet to keep other people comfortable. They allowed family, friends, and circumstances to influence decisions that belonged to their heart. But today, they stopped. They told the person that access to their private life was over. They demanded copies of every message connected to you. They asked for dates, names, and explanations. The person refused at first. Then your soulmate threatened to check everything independently. That was when more truth came out. The confession message was not the only thing hidden. There had been another message from you. A message your soulmate never saw. You had sent it during a time when the connection felt especially distant. You may have said you were hurt. You may have admitted you still cared. You may have asked them to tell you honestly whether you should wait or walk away. Your soulmate never received it. Someone deleted your message too. They removed both attempts at honesty. Then they allowed each of you to believe the other had chosen silence. Your soulmate felt physically sick. They had judged you for not reaching out. You may have judged them for the same thing. But both of you had tried. Someone made sure neither attempt became a conversation. Your soulmate demanded to see your message. When they finally read it, they broke down. Your words were not angry. They were honest. You had written that you did not need perfection. You only needed clarity. You said you could accept the truth, even if it hurt, but you could no longer survive inside uncertainty. You admitted that you cared deeply. You also said you were beginning to feel foolish for believing the connection meant something to both of you. Your soulmate read that sentence repeatedly. It destroyed them. Because at the exact time you were questioning whether the connection mattered, they had been writing a confession saying it mattered more than they knew how to handle. You had both been reaching toward each other. Someone had placed darkness between your hands. That is why your soulmate needs to talk to you immediately. They cannot allow another hour to pass while you believe the old story. They want to send screenshots. They want to show you the hidden messages. They want you to see that they did try. But they also know evidence alone will not repair the pain. Even if someone interfered, your soulmate still made mistakes. They still allowed fear to control them. They still trusted outside voices instead of speaking to you directly. They still accepted silence too easily. They understand that now. They are not coming to you as an innocent victim. They are coming with accountability. Your soulmate has already written the message they plan to send. It begins with your name. Then it says, "Something happened today, and I need you to hear the truth from me before anyone else changes it again." They want to explain everything. The intercepted confession. The message you sent. The person who removed them. The secret they were trying to protect. But there is another reason the conversation cannot wait. Your soulmate learned that you may be leaving soon. An opportunity has appeared. A move. A new beginning. A decision that could create permanent distance. The person who interfered knew about it. That is why the truth came out now. They believed that once you left, the connection would finally disappear. Your soulmate was expected to discover everything after it was too late. But the conversation was overheard before the plan was complete. Now your soulmate knows time matters. They do not want to pressure you into changing your decision. They do not want you to sacrifice an opportunity simply because they finally found courage. They only want you to decide after knowing the truth. If you still choose to leave, they will respect it. But they cannot allow you to leave believing they never cared. They cannot allow you to build a future from a lie someone else created. Your soulmate is preparing to contact you directly. No messenger. No mutual friend. No person standing between your words. They are going to ask for a private conversation. They want to hear your voice. They want to apologize for believing information without confirming it. They want to show you the message they wrote months ago. The confession begins simply. "I love you, and that is why I became afraid." In it, they admitted that your presence changed them. They said you made them want to become more honest. They confessed that they imagined a future with you. Not a perfect future. A real one. Ordinary mornings. Difficult days. Shared decisions. Arguments followed by honest repair. They wanted all of it. But they were afraid that wanting you so deeply would give you the power to leave and destroy them. So they waited. Then they believed you had rejected them. Now they know that rejection may never have happened. Your soulmate is looking at the screen again. Their finger is above the send button. But before they send the message, another notification appears. It is from the person who removed the messages. This time, the warning is direct. If you tell them everything, you will uncover something about your past that you are not ready to know. Your soulmate reads the sentence. For a moment, fear returns. What secret could be powerful enough to make someone manipulate both of you for months? What could connect your past to the current situation? Then another file arrives. An old photograph. Your soulmate opens it. Their entire body becomes cold. The photograph shows you. It shows your soulmate. And it shows the person who interfered. But the date on the photograph is years before you and your soulmate believe you first met. You are standing in the same place, close enough to have spoken. And written on the back of the image are 5 words. They must never remember this. Your soulmate no longer knows what to believe. But one thing is certain. This connection did not begin when either of you thought it did. Someone has been protecting a secret from the past. Someone knew that if you and your soulmate started speaking honestly, old memories might return. That may be why they intercepted the messages. That may be why they encouraged both of you to walk away. And that may be why your soulmate's decision to contact you has caused panic. The message is now ready. The evidence is saved. The photograph is in their hands. Your soulmate is terrified, but they are done allowing fear to create another silence. They are about to send you one final sentence. Please answer me as soon as you see this. Something big happened, and I finally know that we were both lied to. When you receive it, your heart may recognize the urgency immediately. Because this conversation is not only about their feelings anymore. It is about the message you never knew they sent. The truth you tried to give them. The person who kept both of you apart. And a forgotten moment from the past that someone is desperate to keep buried. Your soulmate needs to talk to you immediately. The silence has already lasted too long. And this time, what they reveal may change everything forever. The message appeared on your screen before you had time to prepare, writing, a variant equals, document, ID equals, 56318. Yourself. Please answer me as soon as you see this. Something big happened, and I finally know that we were both lied to. Your body became still. You had imagined hearing from your soulmate many times, but not like this. There was urgency in the words. Not the kind created to gain attention. The kind that comes when someone has discovered a truth too large to carry alone. You opened the conversation. Another message arrived immediately. I found the message you sent me. I never received it. And the confession I sent you was removed before you could read it. For several seconds, you could not breathe normally. Your mind returned to the message you had written months ago. You remembered sitting alone, choosing every word carefully. You had not asked them to promise you a future. You had not demanded that they choose you. You only wanted clarity. You told them you cared. You admitted that their distance was hurting you. You asked whether the connection had been real or whether you needed to let it go. After sending it, you waited. Hours became days. Days became weeks. No answer came. Eventually, you accepted their silence as rejection. You believed they had read your heart and decided it was not important enough to acknowledge. Now they were telling you they had never seen it. Your hands began shaking. You called them before they could send another message. They answered immediately. The moment you heard their breathing, you knew they had been crying. They said your name softly. Then they apologized. You interrupted them. You asked to see everything. No more partial explanations. No more emotional hints. No more allowing another person to decide which truth you were ready to hear. Your soulmate agreed. They sent you screenshots of your original message. The date matched. The words matched exactly as you remembered writing them. But there was something strange in the message information. It had been opened. Then removed. Someone had seen what you wrote. Someone had made sure your soulmate did not. Your anger rose quickly. You asked who had access. Your soulmate explained that the person who interfered had once helped them manage an account or device during a difficult time. They were trusted. They knew passwords had once helped them manage an account or device during. They knew when your soulmate was emotionally vulnerable. And most importantly, they knew about you. At first, you struggled to understand why your soulmate had allowed someone that much access. They admitted it was a mistake. They said the arrangement began before your connection became serious. They had not considered the possibility that someone close would use private access to control personal decisions. But that was exactly what happened. Your soulmate sent another screenshot. This one showed the confession they had written to you. You began reading. The first line made your chest tighten. I have tried to convince myself that what I feel for you will disappear, but every day I remain silent, the truth becomes stronger. You continued. They wrote that they loved you. They admitted that your presence had become part of the way they imagined their future. They explained that their distance was not a rejection of you. It was fear. They said they were afraid of becoming emotionally dependent on someone who could one day choose to leave. They confessed that they had been carrying old wounds into a connection you did not create. Then came the sentence that broke something inside you. If you still feel anything, please give me one chance to speak honestly. If you do not, I will respect your decision, but I cannot let you believe that you meant nothing to me. You covered your mouth. This was the message you had been waiting for. The clarity you had begged for. The truth that could have changed everything months ago. But it had been deleted. Your soulmate believed you had rejected it. You believed they had ignored your message. Both of you had been grieving the same connection from opposite sides of a manufactured silence. You asked who had removed the messages. Your soulmate spoke the name. It was someone you recognized. Someone who had been present during parts of your life for years. Someone who knew how deeply uncertainty affected you. Someone who had listened while you tried to understand your soulmate's behavior. This person had told you that silence was an answer. They said your soulmate was emotionally unavailable. They advised you to stop humiliating yourself by waiting. At the time, their advice sounded protective. Now it felt calculated. You asked why they would want to separate you. Your soulmate said the full answer had not yet been revealed. But after the confrontation, the person admitted they believed the connection would expose something from the past. Then came the photograph. Your soulmate sent it. You opened the image. At first, it looked like an ordinary gathering from many years ago. Several families standing together. Children or younger relatives moving around in the background. Then you saw yourself. You were younger. Your clothes, your hairstyle, and the place itself awakened a memory you had not visited in years. You looked toward the other side of the image. Your soulmate was there. Not far from you. And behind both of you stood the person who had interfered with the messages. Your body became cold. You remembered the gathering. Not clearly. Only pieces. A crowded room. Adults speaking in low voices. Someone asking you to stand beside another young person. A small object placed in your hand. Then an argument. You told your soulmate what you remembered. They became silent. They had experienced similar fragments since seeing the photograph. They remembered being told to give you something. They remembered an older relative saying the exchange was only symbolic. They remembered another adult becoming angry. Then the memory ended. Your soulmate told you there was writing on the back of the photograph. They must never remember this. You asked whose handwriting it was. Your soulmate said they had begun comparing it to old letters. They believed it belonged to a relative connected to both families. Someone who had played a role in a conflict that occurred years before the photograph was taken. The conflict involved more than a disagreement. There had been money, property, promises made between family members, and an accusation that changed several lives. One side believed something valuable had been taken. The other side insisted the loss had been caused by someone outside both families. But the truth was never fully investigated. Instead, resentment grew. The families separated. Years later, certain older relatives believed bringing you and your soulmate together might repair the broken relationship. The meeting in the photograph may have been the beginning of that attempt. But someone opposed it. Someone benefited from the families remaining divided. You asked whether the person who deleted the messages was connected to that benefit. Your soulmate said yes. Their family had gained influence after the original conflict. They became trusted advisors. They helped manage decisions. They positioned themselves as the people who understood both sides. As long as the families remained separate, no one compared records or questioned the old story. But if you and your soulmate became close, conversations might begin. Photographs might surface. Documents might be opened. The original accusation might be examined again. Your connection threatened a secret that had survived because of distance. You felt overwhelmed. Part of you wanted to reject the entire explanation. It sounded too complicated. Too carefully hidden. You asked your soulmate whether there was actual proof or only another story. They said that question was exactly why they had not confronted you with the information immediately. They did not want fear or excitement to replace facts again. So they had begun gathering evidence. They found the 2 removed messages. They found the photograph. They found account activity showing that the trusted person had accessed the conversation on the days both messages disappeared. They also found an old letter. Your soulmate sent you a picture of it. The letter was written by the same relative whose handwriting appeared on the photograph. It mentioned 2 young people from the families. The names were partially hidden by damage, but the initials matched yours and your soulmate's. The letter said that if the 2 people met naturally later in life, they should be told the truth about what had divided the families. You read the line repeatedly. Your soulmate said they did not believe the letter proved fate. It did not mean you were required to be together. But it proved someone expected the old conflict to affect both of you in the future. And someone else had worked hard to prevent that future conversation. You asked the question that mattered most. What truth were we supposed to be told? Your soulmate said one more document had been found. A financial record connected to the old dispute. According to the official family story, a large amount of money or ownership had been transferred by one family member and never returned. That missing value created the accusation of betrayal. But the record showed the transfer went somewhere else. Not to either family. It went to an account controlled by a third party. A party connected to the family of the person who had deleted your messages. Your soulmate's voice became quieter. They said the evidence was incomplete, but it suggested the families may have been turned against each other deliberately. Someone may have taken what did not belong to them and used distrust to prevent both sides from discovering it. The person interfering with your relationship may not have created the original deception. But they may have been protecting the people who did. You sat down. The situation was no longer only about missed messages. It was about years of decisions shaped by a false story. It was about families who believed they had been betrayed. It was about people who gained trust and influence by standing between two sides that no longer spoke directly. And now the same method had been used against you and your soulmate. Separate them. Control the information. Tell each side a different story. Allow silence to complete the manipulation. You asked your soulmate what happened during the confrontation. They said the person initially denied everything. When shown the access records, they admitted deleting the messages. They insisted it was done to protect both of you. They claimed your connection was becoming too emotionally intense. They said reopening the family conflict could destroy relationships, reputations, and lives. Your soulmate asked whether they were protecting people or protecting the secret. The person became angry. They said some truths should remain buried. Your soulmate responded that buried truth had already caused enough damage. Then the person made a threat. If the two of you continued investigating, they would reveal something about your soulmate. Something from their past. Something they believed would make you walk away voluntarily. You asked what it was. Your soulmate hesitated. You could hear fear entering their breathing. Then they said they did not know exactly what would be revealed. But they knew there was one event from years ago they had never spoken about completely. They had made a serious mistake. They had trusted the wrong person. Someone had been hurt emotionally. Your soulmate carried guilt from it. They were afraid the story would be distorted and used as proof that they could not be trusted. You told them not to hide. You said the only protection against manipulated truth was complete truth. Your soulmate began crying. They admitted they had hoped to tell you later, once the current situation became calmer. But that would repeat the same pattern. Waiting. Hiding. Deciding what you were ready to know. So they confessed. Years ago, your soulmate had been involved in another complicated connection. They cared about someone but were emotionally unavailable. Instead of communicating clearly, they moved closer and pulled away repeatedly. The other person became deeply attached. Your soulmate knew the connection was causing pain, but they avoided ending it because they feared being alone. Eventually, the relationship ended badly. The other person accused them of using affection without offering commitment. Your soulmate admitted there was truth in that accusation. They had not intended to be cruel. But their fear and indecision hurt someone. Afterward, they promised never to create that kind of emotional confusion again. Yet with you, they repeated parts of the same pattern. Closeness. Fear. Distance. Silence. That was why they were terrified. They worried they had not changed as much as they believed. You listened without interrupting. The confession hurt, but it also explained something. Your soulmate's distance had not only been caused by outside interference. The manipulation succeeded because it entered an existing weakness. They were afraid of repeating the past. Instead of facing that fear openly, they allowed it to control the connection. You told them that being manipulated did not erase their responsibility. They agreed immediately. They did not ask you to blame everything on the person who deleted the messages. They said, "Someone interfered, but I still chose silence too many times." That answer mattered. You asked what they wanted from you now. Your soulmate took a long breath. They said they wanted one meeting. In person. They wanted to show you the original messages, the photograph, the letter, and the account records. They wanted to answer every question about their past. They wanted to hear what the silence had done to you. But they did not want to ask you for a relationship immediately. They knew both of you were emotionally overwhelmed. The old secret could create pressure to view the connection as destined. Your soulmate did not want history to make the choice for you. They said, "Even if our families once wanted us to meet, you still have the right to decide whether I deserve a place in your life now." For the first time during the conversation, you felt something soften. They were no longer using emotion to avoid accountability. They were offering facts. Responsibility. Freedom. You agreed to meet. But you set conditions. No one else would be involved in the conversation. No secret recordings. No pressure for an immediate answer. And if the person who interfered sent another threat, it would be saved and handled carefully rather than answered emotionally. Your soulmate agreed. Then they told you something else had happened. After the confrontation, their phone received a message from an unknown number. It contained a location and a time. The sender claimed they possessed the missing document that could prove what happened between the families. They said they would only hand it over if your soulmate came alone. You reacted immediately. You told them not to go. The situation had already involved account access, deleted messages, and threats. Meeting an unknown person alone would be dangerous and reckless. Your soulmate admitted that their first instinct had been to go. They were desperate for answers. But then they remembered what they had just learned. Urgency could be used as manipulation too. So they did not respond. They saved the message. They planned to show it to you and someone trustworthy. That decision was proof of change. They were no longer acting alone from fear. They were communicating. They were allowing you to see the truth before making another major choice. Before ending the call, your soulmate asked you to check something. They wanted you to search old belongings for any object connected to the gathering. You remembered a small box. Inside were photographs, old cards, and things you had kept without understanding why. You found it. Near the bottom was a tiny item wrapped in cloth. You opened it. A small metal token rested in your hand. On one side were two initials. Yours and your soulmate's. On the other side was a symbol matching the mark on the old financial document. You described it. Your soulmate stopped speaking. The same symbol appeared beside the third-party account. The object you had been given as a child or teenager was connected to the missing property or money. It may have been a key, a marker, a symbol used to identify ownership. And someone had tried to remove it from the story. You noticed there was a thin line around the edge. The token could be opened. With shaking fingers, you separated the two sides. Inside was a tiny folded piece of paper. The writing was faded, but still visible. You read it aloud. The truth was divided so no single person could hide it forever. One half was kept with each family. When the two pieces return, open what was sealed. Your soulmate whispered that their family had another token. They had seen it among old belongings. It contained the same symbol. Neither of you understood what the two pieces opened. But the unknown message had included a location. An old building once connected to both families. Your soulmate now believes something is hidden there. Documents. Evidence. Perhaps the complete record of what was taken. The person who interfered knows the tokens have been found. That is why the threats have become more urgent. Your soulmate needs to talk to you immediately because the emotional silence between you was only the first layer. Someone used the same strategy that separated your families years ago. Control the messages. Divide the truth. Make each side believe the other chose distance. But this time, the pattern has been exposed. You and your soulmate have compared the messages. You have found the photograph. You have opened the token. And you have made one decision together. Neither of you will go to the location alone. You will meet first. You will bring the evidence. You will decide what happens next without allowing another person to control the information. Before the call ends, your soulmate says the words they wanted you to read months ago. I love you. I was afraid, I made mistakes, and someone used those mistakes to keep us apart. But I will not hide the truth from you again. You do not answer with the same words yet. There is too much to process. But you tell them something that gives them hope. This time, we face the truth directly. Your soulmate begins crying again. Not because everything is fixed. Because the silence has finally ended. And somewhere, the person who deleted both messages has discovered that the two tokens are no longer separated. They send one final warning. If you open what was sealed, you will learn why your first meeting was erased from both your memories. Now the past is waiting. The evidence is coming together. And your soulmate is preparing to stand beside you when the truth that divided two families is finally brought into the light.